Good morning and welcome to this tutorial. So today I'm going to talk about how we can access the inner corners and the outer corners, because I know a lot of you do struggle, and I do see it with a lot of my students, with getting access to these inner corners, and if you are right-handed, sometimes lashing this left arm. So I'm going to show you a couple of hints and tips that I use myself that make it relatively easy. So for me, I'm actually quite a lazy lasher, as in I will try and do anything I can to make my job easier without compromising on the quality or without introducing some of these gimmicks that you can see to make isolation easier, because I am an avid believer that you still have to be very, very skilled at what you do, but if you can find a quicker and easier way of doing it, then do it. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is, if you are right-handed, you will find that you often struggle to get these inner corner lashes here, okay? And the problem I see a lot of people is they're trying to come across the nose here, and as you can see, I'm resting on the nose and I'm struggling. So a really simple way is to move yourself round to the left. So as you can see, I'm spinning myself round, so my stool is going round, and then I'm actually going to come in from here, and look how I'm readjusting my fingers. So if my finger's in the way, you might have to, once you've picked your lash up, is bring your fingers higher up your tweezer so that you can avoid the nose and come up here and place it on. What you want to be aiming to do is to get the base of the extension on. So I've got my isolation. I will place the base of the extension on, and it doesn't matter what direction it's facing in, because the lash could probably be going this way or that way. Just get that base on, and then you've got a couple of seconds in which you can readjust the direction of the lash, because as long as that base is attached, then it doesn't matter. Don't worry about getting it perfect first time. For the rest of the set, yes, you want to do that, because it's going to help you, take your time down, because if you're having to readjust every single lash, then you're going to be there ages. But these inner corners that are really, really tricky, just place that base on and then just readjust it. Okay. Another option you've got, okay, is some of you find it easier, you can come up underneath the nose. Okay, so come up underneath the nose, and then you can place it on. But this all depends how you hold your tweezers in your hand. A lot of my students are very frightened to have their hands down here on their clients' faces, okay? As long as you're not pushing down really hard on them, this is absolutely fine. A lot of the time I actually normally have my finger up my clients' noses. They obviously don't mind, because most of them are asleep. And having had lashes done myself, and I do get my lashes done every 2 weeks, it's actually quite nice to have the therapist on you like this, because it's quite comforting when you're laying down with your eyes closed. So actually to have your therapist on you, make sure it's gently, it's actually a really, really nice feeling. Now when it comes to these outer corners, I know a lot of you do struggle with this, okay, and you've got several options of turning the head towards you. I tend to just, again, move my body, so I'm now coming from behind the head and I'm moving my body around. Now when it comes to isolating, this is quite a difficult angle, because actually my wrist is now going to have to try and turn, can you see, this way, and I've actually got my hand cut like right across me trying to do this. It's impossible. So this is a really, really simple technique. It's not a technique that I teach my beginners on, because I don't want them to become lazy. But get your tweezers, put them together to make a point, and then come in, get your isolation and pull a lash apart. So I'm just pulling a chunk of lashes to the left. So I've got this chunk are all moved over to the left, and I've got a gap here. So when I go to place my extension on, look how I've come underneath the nose again, and I will place the extension to the left side of this natural lash here. I'm not placing it on top, and I'm not placing it on the right hand side, because it would stick to this bunch here. But if I place it on the left side, where I've got this big gap where I've pulled it across, then I'm not going to be sticking that extension to the lashes that sit on the right hand side of it. Now if you look what I've done with my tweezers, putting them together, you can see now why I wasn't so enthusiastic as everybody else seemed to be when the needle pen came out. This is a pen that's got like a needle on the end, and people saying, no isolation, you just go in, with this pen and pull the lashes apart. Well, for me, I already did that with my tweezers. Sometimes I would do it on this side, as you can see, because for me it's quite easy. So I wasn't ready to jump on the bandwagon like everybody else did, because it was something that I was already doing, but with a pair of tweezers. And the great thing with a pair of tweezers that you can't get with a needle pen, in my opinion, is sometimes you've got tiny, tiny little baby lashes at the base that you need to work out. With a needle pen you can't do that. You have a sharp pair of tweezers, and again this is just my opinion, what works for me, but you have the best of both worlds now by being able to firstly use your tweezers to isolate using two like this, but also just to be able to put yours together and move like this. So if you've got somebody with a good set of lashes that hasn't got a lot of those baby naughty little lashes at the bottom, you can do this the whole way through with a needle pen. But for me, a lot of my clients have got quite crisscrossy lashes at the base, and I do need the ability to not only do this, but to come in and get my isolation. So the problems that you will encounter on your clients are actually to do with you not using your angles. You know, we really have to be quite good at problem solving as lash technicians. So don't ever be frightened to come up underneath here, you know, to put your stool up. You know, my stool will go up and down during my set because sometimes I might need to be over the client a little bit more. Sometimes I'll need to be round to the left, sometimes to the right. So it's always good to have yourself with a stool that's got wheels on it so that you can move yourself around your client as and when. But you just have to work on angles. Sometimes it might be a case that you've got a lash in your tweezers and it's not quite in the right position. Make sure that you dip it in the glue first of all, and then you can place it on the pad because the glue will hold it on the pad. If you place it on the pad without the glue, the lash will just fall over. So get a little bit of glue on it, place it on the pad, quickly pick it back up in a position that's comfortable, and then you can adjust it. So you might find that if you're coming in like this, and you can see how I've got my hands on her mouth almost, if you're coming in like this, you might need to have a different angle of lash in your tweezer. So I would have dipped in my glue, placed it on there, re-grabbed it at that angle, and then come in. So it is just a case of you playing with your angles, playing with how your hands position over the head. You know, it's not just a case of you having your hands here all the time. You need to be all over your client's face to actually get these angles. You know, sometimes you might need to have your hand angle right here. You know, look how my hand's right underneath her chin. You know, again with isolation I might actually need to bring my hand across the top of her head to get here, and then come in from the side. But don't be afraid to take those fingers off those tweezers and go like that. You know, sometimes I might even have to do that. You have to do what you have to do. There's no textbook methods to any of this. Just do what feels comfortable, have a good play, and develop your own style. So I hope you enjoyed that one. Go away and have a practice.